Hello! Welcome to my first actual devlog. Devlog 0 doesn't count. I don't expect to be uploading on this channel often, but I will try and upload devlogs of my progress at least once per week. I am working on a game called Gravity Switch. It was an old Unreal Engine game that I made before college, but unfortunately it got lost to a corrupted drive, so I can't really show any footage of that version. It's a game inspired by Portal, where the player must use gravity to their advantage to get through different puzzles. Recently, I decided to reuse the concept for a university project, but I ended up liking how it turned out so much that I decided I wanted to restart the project after I submitted it so I could rework things and get them working in a much better way. This devlog is going to be quite short. I haven't worked on the game for that long yet, but I wanted to upload something before I really got started, so I don't end up jumping straight into the deep end and immediately have to show off everything I've done in 1 week. When I started working on the game, I decided that I wanted to use Unity's built-in character controller, because I wanted to get more control than I would have gotten from rigid body movement. Because I've never used Unity's character controller before, I decided to follow a Brachy's tutorial to get started with basic movement. I found that while using the character controller, it doesn't rotate the collider with the rest of the player, and I don't really think the movement or the camera rotation quite worked in any rotation either. Which is a problem because that's exactly what I needed to do. So I had to go back to using rigid body movement, which is easier to set up. But while creating some custom drag to give the player snappy movement without affecting relative up and down velocity, I came across a couple of bugs, where the player would end up flying off if their rotation was anything other than 0, or the drag wasn't applied correctly if the gravity had changed to anything that wasn't down. After 2 hours of constant trial and error, I gave up. Nothing I did worked correctly, so instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, I deleted almost everything and did some research. After a little while, I found one blog that managed to accomplish the one thing that I couldn't. Snappy movement relative to the player's rotation on a spherical planet, and with little tweaking, I managed to get snappy movement relative to the player on any surface. Now that I had movement working, it was time to start on the gravity manager. This is what is responsible for, well, managing gravity. It's what will let me change the gravity for any individual object at any time. In the Gravity Manager, I wanted a function that would rotate the object towards the direction of gravity if a boolean was true. Because I don't know how to mess with quaternions without messing up 100 times first, I decided I'd go back to that blog that I found and see if they had any rotation script I could borrow, and fortunately they did. And once I plugged it into the Gravity Manager, everything worked as expected, and I saved myself from a ton of stress. The final thing to do was create a simple gravity trigger that changed and reset the player's gravity when they entered and exited a trigger collider. While doing some final touches before saving it and closing down, I did find one small bug where the player seemed to float upwards slightly after jumping out of a gravity trigger. However, it doesn't affect gameplay and is only a problem if the player has a large jump force value, so for now, it doesn't need fixing. Well, anyways, that's the progress that I've gotten done since I've started. If you managed to stick around to the end, I hope you either found it interesting or entertaining, and I thank you for watching. Have a great day.